Okay, so on day 3 of looking at the selfish giant and looking at this story to pick it apart and understand it in the deepest possible way, we're going to look at analyzing craft. Now, craft is the way that a writer uses words, uses sentences in order to put their story together in a way that's interesting for people to read and that helps make their points that they are wanting to make. So we're going to look at that. We're going to use another graphic organizer. I'm going to fill this out as I talk through the story, and then you'll fill yours out the same way because you're going to be doing your own graphic organizer for the story Smiles to Go. So the first thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at the text structure of this story, The Selfish Giant. So the text structure in this story tributes to the story because the author uses cause and effect. And we saw this as we read the story. Well, to show how the giant's behavior and actions affect the plot. It also contributes to the theme. Now, we talked about in the previous video how the theme is that the selfishness of the giant in the beginning of the story made it possible for him to take things for granted that he later became appreciative of. So the next thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at the print or graphic features. Now, a lot of times fiction stories won't have these types of things as much as nonfiction stories will, but there is a sign in the story. Whoops, trespassers will be prosecuted is significant to the story. It shows the seriousness of the giant's feelings toward the children playing in his garden and how selfish he truly is. This sign is in bold print to show the reader that it is not a part of the story, but a feature of something happening in the story. Okay, the next thing that we're going to look at is our next column here, figurative language, metaphors, similes, personification, etc. And there was quite a bit of that in this story. I think that the author did a really excellent job of bringing those types of features of figurative language into the story. So let's start talking about that. So throughout the story, the snow, frost, hail, and north wind are personified as real people. Now, I'm going to put some bullet points in here to show the different things. The snow covered the grass with her white cloak. The frost painted all the trees silver. The north wind, roared all day. The hail rattled the castle. So we see that over and over and over again. We also see, I'm going to take my bullet points off right there. The trees are interacting with the children. The flowers are peeking out of the ground, then going back under when they see that there are no children in the garden. And there are other examples as well, but these are some good examples of how we see figurative language used in the story. And now we're going to talk about point of view. Now, point of view refers to the narration of a story. So who's telling the story? Sometimes it's first person, sometimes it's third person. Now, in this particular story, we have an omniscient point of view. This means the narrator knows everything that's going on with all of the characters. Omniscient point of view in the story helps to develop the theme by showing how Snow and Frost feel about the giant's rules. They saw that he was going to be selfish, and they knew that was going to be their opportunity to really um, run wild in his garden. So now we're going to be um, moving on to the rest of our organizer here. Now, again, here we are back with make inferences. Now, the inferences that we could put in this graphic organizer are the same inferences from the previous graphic organizer. So I'm not going to fill all that in again. You can go back to your own graphic organizer and see that and just move that information from here into this column. The same with evaluate key ideas. Those haven't changed from the last graphic organizer, and neither has synthesize and create new information. So these three boxes here, you can just take your information from the previous graphic organizer and just copy it into this one because they're the same. The last thing we do need to talk about, though, regarding this story is tone and mood. Tone, remember, is the attitude that the author is taking about what he or she is writing about, and mood is how it makes the reader feel as they are reading the story. So we're going to talk about that. In the beginning of the story, the giant's behavior sets the scene of arrogance. Arrogance means that you think you're more important than everybody else and you discount others' feelings. His selfishness ruins the happiness of the children who were doing no harm. They just wanted to play in the garden. In paragraph 17, the giant realizes how selfish he had been, and the mood changes to hopeful. So that gives you a pretty good idea of the tone and mood of the story. So finish filling out your graphic organizer. This is similar to the graphic organizer that you're going to be filling out for the story Smiles to Go, which is your independent practice where you'll be working on your own graphic organizer for that. But use this one as a guideline when you're filling that one out, because this will give you some idea of the types of things that you should be putting in the graphic organizer for that story. So once you finish this step, you'll be able to move to the next part of the playlist and keep on working.